The Galactic Arena was the ultimate proving ground for species across the stars, a massive coliseum where champions clashed to display dominance, resolve disputes, and secure honor for their worlds. It was a spectacle that had been ongoing for centuries, drawing the attention of billions from every corner of the galaxy. To the elite races, it was more than sport. It was a showcase of power, a statement of worth. Among the endless list of competing planets, Earth was barely a footnote, its name eliciting no more than a scoff or a shrug. Primitive, weak, inconsequential, those were the words most often associated with the tiny blue planet. For the Galactans, the reigning champions of the arena, Earth's reputation was laughable. Their empires spanned countless systems, forged through war and an unwavering belief in the supremacy of brute strength. The Galactans prided themselves on their warriors, towering figures equipped with genetically enhanced muscles, advanced armor, and plasma-forged weaponry. Victory was their birthright, their dominance uncontested. To them, strength was tangible, measurable in the crack of a skull or the collapse of an enemy. And by those standards, Earth was a joke. News of Earth's participation in the upcoming tournament spread like wildfire. When the invitation was sent, it had been done with little more than a smirk, a token of goodwill from the Galactic Council. Earth, being a newcomer to interstellar politics, would never stand a chance, but allowing them to enter was a way to quiet the murmurs of exclusion. The Galactans, of course, found this hilarious. The thought of humans competing in the arena, with their so-called martial arts, was absurd. What good were centuries-old practices of disciplined hand-to-hand combat in a world dominated by plasma cannons and mechs? They send their dancers to face warriors. One Galactan soldier sneered, reviewing footage of Earth's martial traditions. Do they plan to charm us to death with their twirls and poses? Let them try. Another chuckled. It will be entertaining, if nothing else. Back on Earth, the news of the invitation was met with equal parts excitement and trepidation. While many saw it as an opportunity to introduce Earth to the galaxy, others feared it would end in embarrassment. Yet, when the time came to select a champion, the choice surprised many, a Shaolin monk named Masterly. The selection committee had debated for hours, weighing the potential of advanced weaponry, cybernetic enhancements, or even genetically engineered humans. But it was Master Li's advocates who made the most compelling argument. The Shaolin tradition represented not just physical prowess but also mental discipline, adaptability, and an indomitable spirit. If Earth was to send someone, they argued, it should be someone who embodied the very best of humanity. Master Li was a quiet man, his presence commanding yet unassuming. He accepted the role without hesitation, his calm demeanor betraying neither doubt nor arrogance. Many were skeptical. How could a man armed only with his fists and centuries-old techniques stand against alien champions armed to the teeth? Even among his supporters, there were whispers of doubt. In the weeks leading up to his departure, Master Li immersed himself in training, though it was unlike the preparation most would expect. While the Galactans lifted weights that could crush buildings and tested their endurance in brutal simulations, Master Li's regimen was meditative and methodical. Hours were spent in silence, his body flowing seamlessly through movements honed by generations of monks before him. The temple courtyard echoed with the soft rustle of fabric as he practiced forms that had been perfected over millennia. His hands and feet moved with a precision that spoke of mastery, each strike and block a testament to the art's timeless effectiveness. His training wasn't just about the body but also the mind, clarity, focus, and the ability to remain unshaken in the face of overwhelming odds. Observers who visited the temple left with mixed impressions. Some were awed by his grace and confidence, while others shook their heads, unconvinced that such techniques could hold up against the brutal reality of the galactic arena. But Master Li remained undeterred. As he stood in meditation beneath the temple's ancient ginkgo tree, his thoughts were calm and resolute. Victory or defeat did not concern him. What mattered was the opportunity to represent his people, to demonstrate that strength was not merely a measure of force but also of spirit and discipline. The time to depart arrived swiftly. With little fanfare, Master Li boarded the sleek spacecraft that would carry him to the galactic arena. As the engines roared to life and Earth's surface faded into the distance, he sat cross-legged, eyes closed in meditation. The path ahead was uncertain, but his resolve was unwavering. In the far reaches of the galaxy, amidst the jeers and laughter of the Galactans, a quiet storm was brewing, one that would soon upend everything they thought they knew about strength and the indomitable nature of humanity. The galactic arena buzzed with anticipation as Masterly stepped off the transport ship and into the heart of the colossal structure. Alien spectators filled the seats, their voices a cacophony of languages and roars, but one sentiment was clear: mockery. A ripple of laughter swept through the crowd as the monk appeared, clad in his simple orange robes, his calm stride a stark contrast to the chaos around him. "Is this their champion?" a Galactan soldier sneered, his voice booming over the arena's amplifiers. "A frail human with no armor, no weapons? They send a lamb to fight lions!" The jeers grew louder, punctuated by the sharp clangs of Galactan warriors slamming their weapons against their shields. To them, Masterly was an oddity, a symbol of Earth's naivety, and his mere presence in the arena was an insult to their pride. The arena itself was a marvel of galactic engineering, a sprawling coliseum that seemed to defy physics. Massive towers hummed with energy, creating shifting zones of gravity, while holographic projections displayed the fights to distant spectators. The ground beneath Masterly's feet glowed faintly, imbued with technology that could morph the terrain to suit the combatants. Everything about the arena screamed power and innovation, a stark contrast to the unassuming figure now standing at its center. Amidst the chaos, Masterly moved with quiet grace, his face unchanging as he took in the sights and sounds. While the spectators mocked and the Galactans boasted, he remained a bastion of calm. His movements were deliberate, his gaze sharp as he observed the arena and the warriors around him. The Galactans, for all their strength, lacked discipline. Their arrogance was palpable, their confidence bordering on recklessness. They roared and postured, displaying brute force but little regard for strategy. Masterly saw this clearly, each boast and taunt revealing a lack of balance, a weakness that could be exploited. He felt no anger at their insults, no desire to retaliate. Instead, he silently acknowledged their ignorance, and let it pass like a breeze through the leaves. A sudden roar from the crowd marked the beginning of the first combat demonstration. A Galactan warrior stepped into the arena, his imposing frame glinting with metallic enhancements. His opponent, a sinewy fighter from a neighboring star system, charged with an energy blade, hoping to outmaneuver the Galactan's brute strength. The fight was over in seconds. The Galactan caught the energy blade mid-swing, crushing it with his enhanced grip before delivering a single devastating blow that sent his opponent sprawling. The arena erupted in cheers, the display of raw power reinforcing the Galactans' belief in their supremacy. This was what they celebrated: overwhelming might, efficiency, dominance. As the defeated fighter was carried away, all eyes turned back to Masterly. The whispers grew louder, the mockery laced with anticipation. "He'll last even less time," one voice jeered, echoing the sentiment of the crowd. Finally, it was Masterly's turn. A hush fell over the arena as he stepped forward, the silence broken only by the faint hum of the shifting terrain. His first opponent emerged from the opposite side, a towering brute armed with a plasma hammer, its head glowing with lethal energy. The brute grinned, his confidence as solid as the ground beneath his feet. The crowd leaned forward, eager to see how quickly the human would fall. The brute wasted no time, swinging the massive hammer with a force that could shatter stone. But Masterly didn't flinch. With a graceful sidestep, he avoided the blow, his movements fluid and effortless. The brute roared in frustration, attacking again and again, but each strike met only empty air. Masterly danced around him, his calm composure unbroken. To the spectators, it looked almost absurd, a fight where one side barely seemed to engage. Then, with a single, precise motion, Masterly struck. His palm met the brute's wrist, dislodging the hammer with a sharp crack, sending it skidding across the arena floor. A sweep of his leg toppled the Galactan, the giant's massive frame crashing to the ground. The arena fell silent, the jeers replaced by stunned disbelief. The frail human, the so-called unarmed lamb, stood victorious without landing a single blow of violence. Master Li bowed respectfully to his fallen opponent before turning to the crowd, his expression unchanged. In that moment, the laughter ceased. For the first time, the Galactans began to question whether brute strength was truly invincible. The Galactan brute lay sprawled on the arena floor, disarmed and dazed. His plasma hammer, the weapon he had wielded with unchallenged dominance, lay shattered several feet away. Master Li stood a short distance away, his hands still and unmarked, his breathing steady. The entire sequence had lasted mere moments, a blur of precise movements that turned the brute's overwhelming strength into his downfall. The crowd was frozen, the cheers and jeers dying in their throats. The idea that a seemingly frail human could disarm one of their finest warriors without resorting to brute force was unthinkable. Slowly, murmurs rippled through the audience, uncertainty creeping into their voices. The Galactans, so confident in their might, now grappled with the implications of what they had just witnessed. But their pride wouldn't allow them to admit defeat so easily. From their viewing platforms, the Galactan leaders scoffed. "Luck," one of them declared. "The human got lucky. The brute underestimated him." Another nodded. "A fluke. It won't happen again." Yet their dismissive tones couldn't mask the unease in their eyes. For a species that measured everything by power and force, this victory defied understanding. The next challenge came quickly, as if the Galactans sought to erase the embarrassment of their warrior's defeat. This time, it wasn't one opponent but a squad of 5 soldiers armed with an array of plasma weapons and shields. They spread out across the arena, their formation tight and deliberate, each one moving in sync as they advanced toward Master Li. The spectators cheered, confident that sheer numbers and advanced weaponry would overwhelm the human. But as the soldiers moved in, Master Li remained composed, his eyes scanning the terrain and his opponents. His every movement was deliberate, his stance relaxed but ready. The first soldier lunged, a plasma blade slashing toward him. With a fluid step, Master Li sidestepped the attack, redirecting the soldier's momentum into another teammate. The clash of armor echoed as the two collided, momentarily disrupting their formation. Before they could recover, Master Li moved again, using the environment to his advantage. He ducked under a gravity-shifting field, his movements nimble as he avoided the chaotic energy that slowed his attackers. A second soldier fired a plasma bolt, but the monk anticipated the shot, his body twisting out of its path. Closing the distance in a flash, he delivered a precise strike to the soldier's wrist, disarming him and sending the weapon spinning across the arena. The soldier stumbled back, clutching his arm in disbelief. The remaining 3 hesitated, their confidence shaken as they regrouped. Master Li didn't press the attack. Instead, he waited, his stance calm and inviting. The soldiers advanced cautiously, their initial bravado replaced by unease. When they attacked, it was in a flurry of coordinated strikes, but their attempts to overwhelm him only highlighted their lack of discipline. Master Li countered each move with a grace that seemed effortless, turning their aggression into their undoing. When the dust settled, all 5 soldiers lay defeated, their weapons scattered, and their pride shattered. The arena was silent again, the Galactans' confidence visibly shaken. From their elevated positions, the Galactan leaders watched with narrowed eyes. They couldn't ignore what was unfolding. The human wasn't relying on luck, he was demonstrating something far more dangerous: skill, discipline, and an understanding of combat that transcended brute force. "How is this possible?" one leader demanded. "They are supposed to be weak." Another spoke reluctantly, his voice tinged with frustration. "Perhaps we've underestimated them. Their strength, it's not what we expected." But even as doubts began to seep into their minds, their arrogance held firm. The Galactans were a species that thrived on conquest, their identity built on the belief that strength was absolute. Accepting that another species might rival them, especially one as unremarkable as humans, was a bitter pill to swallow. While the Galactans debated, Master Li knelt in a quiet corner of the arena, his back turned to the crowd. His eyes were closed, his breathing steady, as he meditated amidst the chaos. To him, the battles were not about victory or proving superiority. They were about balance, maintaining composure in the face of aggression, finding harmony even in a storm of violence. The crowd watched him in silence, their jeers long forgotten. Some among them began to question what they had been taught about humans. Others felt a flicker of admiration, though they would never admit it openly. For the Galactans' strength had always been simple: the one who hit harder, lasted longer, and destroyed more was the victor. But this monk, with his calm demeanor and effortless victories, was rewriting the rules before their eyes. The arena, a place of brute dominance, had become a stage for something far greater, a display of mastery that transcended species and shattered expectations. The air in the arena grew electric as the gates opened, revealing the Galactic champion. He emerged like a living weapon, towering above even his peers, every inch of his form a testament to engineered perfection. His armor shimmered with adaptive plating, bristling with weaponry designed to annihilate. Augmented muscles coiled beneath the exosuit, granting him strength beyond comprehension. The roar of the crowd was deafening, a wave of anticipation and pride surging through the Galactic spectators. This was no ordinary warrior. The champion was the pinnacle of their race, a product of centuries of refinement in genetics and warfare. His victories were legendary, his ferocity unmatched. To the Galactans, he embodied their ideals of power and dominance. Facing him was to face the might of their entire civilization. Across the arena, Master Li stood unflinching. The stark contrast between the two combatants couldn't have been more striking: a lone monk in simple robes against a behemoth clad in cutting-edge technology. Yet, as the champion advanced, Master Li remained serene, his stillness more commanding than any display of brute force. The battle commenced with a thunderous charge. The champion closed the distance in a heartbeat, his plasma gauntlets igniting with a blinding glow. He swung with devastating power, the air itself rippling from the force. Master Li moved just in time, his body a blur as he evaded the attack. The ground where he had stood moments before exploded, debris flying in all directions. The champion pressed the assault, unleashing a barrage of strikes and plasma blasts that left no room for error. Each movement was calculated, each attack designed to overwhelm and destroy. Master Li was on the defensive, his agility tested as he wove through the onslaught. For a moment, it seemed as if the monk might falter, the sheer intensity of the champion's assault pushing him to his limits. But even under pressure, Master Li's mind was clear. He observed the champion's patterns, noting the over-reliance on brute strength and technology. Each swing of the plasma gauntlet was powerful but predictable, every blast devastating but imprecise. The Galactic champion, for all his might, fought like a hammer trying to crush a shadow. Master Li began to adapt. His movements became more deliberate, his steps drawing the champion into unfavorable positions. A quick feint here, a sidestep there, and the balance of the fight began to shift. The champion's attacks, once relentless, started to falter as frustration crept in. With a sharp pivot, Master Li used the arena's gravity-shifting zones to his advantage. He led the champion into a field where the pull of gravity intensified, slowing the Galactan's massive form. While the champion struggled to adjust, Master Li struck with precision, not to injure, but to disrupt. A well-placed palm strike to a pressure point caused the champion's arm to seize, forcing him to recalibrate his suit's mechanisms. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the fight unfolded. Each move from Master Li was a masterclass in strategy and awareness. He wasn't just fighting, he was teaching. The Galactic champion, despite his overwhelming strength, found himself reacting rather than dominating. Then came the turning point. With a swift maneuver, Master Li disarmed the champion's plasma gauntlet, sending it clattering to the ground. The Galactic hesitated for the first time, the loss of his weapon shaking his confidence. Sensing the moment, Master Li capitalized, targeting the joints and seams of the champion's armor with surgical precision. Piece by piece, the advanced technology that had made the champion invincible was rendered useless. The fight reached its climax as Master Li delivered a final, decisive move. He stepped into the champion's guard, his palm resting lightly on the Galactic's chest. With a controlled burst of energy, he triggered a fail-safe in the armor, causing it to deactivate. The champion froze, his immense form now vulnerable, his strength neutralized without a single act of violence. Masterly stepped back, his expression calm, his breathing steady. He made no move to strike the now defenseless champion. Instead, he bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. The message was clear: the fight was over, and it had never been about domination or destruction. The crowd erupted, but this time it wasn't with derision or anger. It was all. Cheers and shouts filled the arena, not just from the Galactans but from spectators of countless species. The monk had shown them something they had never seen before, a demonstration of strength that transcended physical force, rooted in wisdom and restraint. The Galactan champion, for his part, lowered his head. There was no shame in his expression, only a newfound respect. He extended a massive hand, which Masterly accepted with a firm yet humble grip. In that moment, the arena transformed from a battlefield into a place of understanding. Masterly had not only defeated the champion but also the Galactans' deeply held beliefs about strength. His victory was a reminder that true power was not about overwhelming force but about balance, discipline, and the courage to act with restraint even when dominance was within reach. The arena was uncharacteristically quiet as the Galactan leaders descended from their elevated seats. Their imposing figures, once the embodiment of arrogance and disdain, now bore expressions of contemplation and, most startling of all, respect. The outcome of the battle had shaken the very foundation of their beliefs. One of the leaders, draped in ornate battle regalia, stepped forward to address the gathered crowd. "Earth has proven itself," he began, his voice resonating through the arena. "We, the Galactans, acknowledge not only the skill of this monk but the depth of humanity's strength, a strength not measured by brute force or technology, but by discipline, wisdom, and spirit." Another leader added, "We were wrong to mock. Humanity, though young among the stars, possesses qualities we have underestimated. Let this be a lesson to us all." The declaration rippled through the arena, eliciting murmurs of agreement from the diverse audience. For the first time, humanity was not dismissed as primitive or insignificant. The Galactans, the most prideful of all, had conceded not out of obligation but genuine recognition. As the crowd dispersed, Masterly found a quiet moment to reflect. He sat cross-legged in the arena's shadows, his eyes closed, his thoughts turning inward. His mind drifted back to the temple where it all began, the sound of rustling leaves in the courtyard, the disciplined rhythm of practice, the quiet guidance of his masters. He recalled the countless hours spent perfecting his art, not for glory or conquest but to understand himself and the world. "Discipline and humility are our true weapons," he had been taught. Now, standing among stars and civilizations far beyond Earth, he saw how these lessons had shaped not only his journey but humanity's representation on this galactic stage. The Galactans' acknowledgement sparked a cascade of change. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy, reaching species that had never considered humans worth their attention. Diplomats, scholars, and travelers began arriving on Earth, curious to learn more about the culture that had produced such an extraordinary champion. Martial arts schools flourished as alien students sought to understand the philosophy behind the techniques. Tai Chi sessions were held in zero gravity, and interstellar competitions incorporated elements of Earth's combat styles. Beyond martial arts, humanity's traditions, from philosophy to art, began weaving into the fabric of galactic culture. For the first time, Earth was not merely a planet but a source of inspiration. The message of balance, resilience, and harmony resonated deeply, offering a perspective that many alien species found refreshing in an often turbulent galaxy. As the galactic shift unfolded, Masterly returned to Earth, his arrival met with celebrations across the globe. But he carried himself with the same humility as before, refusing the grand accolades offered to him. Instead, he returned to his temple, where the familiar sounds of students' training greeted him. His presence reinvigorated the temple, drawing seekers from around the world and beyond. He spoke little of his battles, choosing instead to teach through example. "Strength lies in the heart and mind," he reminded his students. "What we cultivate within us shapes the world around us." The story of Masterly became a legend, told not only on Earth but across the galaxy. It was a reminder of humanity's potential to thrive through unity, resilience, and wisdom. In a universe where power often overshadowed principle, Earth had proven that its greatest strength was not in weapons or technology, but in the unyielding spirit of its people.